recording. Brad Haynes, everybody. Let's go.
Okay, let me just look okay there. Well, good evening, everybody. I'm glad that you were able to make it here. For this training session we're going to talk about tonight. I really want you to understand Franklin Templeton because I hail from. This is how far back I go. I go Smith Barney Mutual Funds, Solomon Smith Barney, SSB City, Citigroup Asset Management, Legg Mason. Oh, I got to take this screen off. Hold on one second. I got to change my view. I can't handle it when I have me on there as a primary picture. Anyway, all right, there we go. SSB City, Citigroup Asset Management, Legg Mason, and then of course Legg Mason was Franklin Templeton bought Legg Mason. And I'm going to tell you, as a person that's been in the industry for 30 years and been with this firm or predecessor firm for 28 years, for those of you who know this tagline, this is not your father's Oldsmobile. This firm has changed dramatically. It is keeping up and actually is ahead of the industry in many, many different ways. We are now probably about 1.6, $1.7 trillion in assets under management, which makes us the fourth or fifth largest on the planet. We just had a sales meeting about 2 or 3 weeks ago in Orlando, actually where the AALC has their meetings every year. I've been down there before for the AALC a couple of years ago. Well, a couple of years, 2009 or 10 or something like that, down there. But we had our meeting there at the JW Marriott. And to hear the CEO speak about what we have going on here, it really is unbelievable. The power that this firm has, the intellectual capabilities, the intellectual capital that we have at our disposal is unsurmounted anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the industry. There are very few firms that can put up what we can. We have 50, now this doesn't really necessarily apply, but I just want to kind of give you an idea. Digital assets are kind of one of those things out there. People think Bitcoin or whatever. We have 50 people that all they do is work in the digital asset arena. Think about that. That's 50 people. That's fixed cost, salary, and then incentives and bonuses and healthcare and all of that. That's a huge commitment to have that done right there for just digital assets, to get us in there to be the forerunner in that space within the asset management industry. And it really is working. I mean, there are just some things that we're, that are working on with the home office and stuff. Nothing I can talk about. I mean, we'll see if it ever happens. But, there's some stuff out there and things that we want to be able to bring things to you. We also look at ourselves as a service organization. A lot of people just sit there and think, that it's just a symbiotic relationship where, I come out and I present to you, you go and get your clients to invest in something, and then we get paid. This relationship goes well beyond that, and I had no idea how far beyond that it went. I'm gonna say this. I'll probably get in trouble for saying it, but we were sitting there looking we asked a question of Glenn Williams and everybody at the home office, Glenn Williams, and then whether it be him or Peter Schneider or whether it be Julie Seaman, say, hey, what's your greatest pain point? What's your greatest pain point? What's the thing, if you could solve it, what would be the best thing that you could do to solve that? Or how would it affect you? Would it be that? So basically, the biggest pain point is the thing is the biggest problem that you have, right? If you fix that, you fix a lot of things. And one of these things, they said, well, we really want to convert life insurance to securities. And we said, well, how are you doing it now? They said, well, we're doing it through various means and ways. And we said, well, what if we just solve that for you? And we actually have a team, our technology team went in there and developed, we have a 70-page outline document of how we can go in and improve the life insurance to securities sale and encompass it all together, utilize the technology that we would do gratis, meaning for free, just to help you out, to build that capability for you. That's something we do. We don't just, I mean, it's not just Primerica. I mean, let's say it was just Primerica, but like we've gone into like some of these big RIA firms, as a registered investment advisor firm, these huge, think of them like a hierarchy, right? They have like, probably like 300 advisors. They manage $50 billion. And we said, what's your greatest pain point? They said, well, we just can't get our hand around marketing. So, all right, well, let's bring in our marketing team and our digital marketing team, and we'll see what we can do. We actually went in there and we redesigned marketing pieces and digital marketing for an RIA firm for free, because we know that the other handoff is that they're going to sit there and make us the first phone call, that we're going to be the ones that are going to be the first phone call. So, I mean, we're doing it for free, but we kind of expect something in the return for it, that type thing. Nothing's for free. But these are the type of things that we are working on right now that we are doing. And there are actually multiple things that we're actually looking at doing for you to help you grow your business. Because, quite honestly, if you grow your business, our business grows also. right? If you go out, and we all know that the number of securities licenses is also determined by the number of codes you have, which is also a function of life license codes, which is a function of recruiting, right? And we know that the only way to grow the securities licensing number is to grow codes and grow recruiting. So, like, how can we help you do that? And that's what we're all about. We want to help you grow your overall business because we know if we help you grow your overall business, that we will be the beneficiaries of the security side of the business, which is really kind of a fun thing to be involved with. I mean, it's really probably now. I got to tell you, I started the channel, so I was the original wholesaler, the first original wholesaler. I think Joyce Baum was 6 months later, and she's out in California. I've never been more excited than I am right now, than except maybe when I first started the channel because I was young. I was 24 years old and I was excited for wholesaling and running around. And 24-year-old with an expense account is a dangerous thing. But that's probably the only time I've been more excited than I am right now because we have so much to offer you and things that are coming down the pipeline that I mean, we can't quite even imagine yet. There are things going on out in the industry and within the economy overall that I got to tell you right now. It may see doom and gloom on TV or whatever. I don't know which news outlet you look at. I don't care. But you hear doom and gloom occasionally, how bad the economy, and it's not that bad. I mean, there are some things, there's some trouble points. But we're looking at the stock market. How is the market being impacted? And right now, you can see it. And probably the biggest impact you're going to see and you're going to hear about, and you have been hearing about it, and it will impact us for the next probably 2 decades, is AI, generative AI. I see some shaking of heads like, yep, I hear it. I hear it. Yeah, it is. It is a big deal. And it's impacting more than just the AI area. Let me just give you a little sidebar here. You can look at things like ClearBridge dividend strategy, or look at things that are in utilities. I mean, utilities, or let's say energy, has not really been a growth sector for, I don't know, 30 or 40 years. It's just been basically a stable, able dividend payment type thing. You're going to see energy developers and utilities become growth stocks. Growth stocks. I mean, you're going to see a utility. Utilities are known. We have a great utility fund. We have a great natural resource fund. Utility funds are known as being like dividend payer, stable, able, just give you your thing. They're going to be growth stocks. Now, how can I tell you that I know they're going to be growth stocks? Is because we have a lot of things, and Texas is kind of a microcosm of the greater, not just the United States, but world, is power requirements are going up. Let me give you a couple of little examples here. I mean, the Bitcoin mines have been enticed to come to Texas because we have a lot of free energy here. We have a competitive energy thing here. That uses a lot of power, a lot of power. Do you know for every electric vehicle you have on the road, that's equivalent to one household's power usage a day? So if you have a house and you have two electric vehicles, that's equivalent to having not just a house, but two other houses there. Now, let's talk about that. That in itself is a little concerning right now, right? Would we agree with that? Let me give you one step further here. AI, AI chips. NVIDIA is probably, I think they manufacture about 80% of the AI chips out there. Probably AMD is the next level, and there's a couple other players out there. They manufacture about 300,000, and they're ramping up as quickly as they can because everybody's buying these AI chips. Do you know how much the power uses? How big's a microchip, by the way? It's about, oh, let's see if I have anything on my desk. It's about the size of the quarter, right? About the size of a quarter. Do you know how much power requirement an NVIDIA AI chip uses on a daily basis? The equivalent of one house. And they're manufacturing 300,000 of these just in NVIDIA. So we're adding the equivalent of 300,000 homes just with AI chips to the power grid. That's going to cause a serious power issue in the year 2027, which is why we see growth in those sectors. And those are things you can talk to clients about. These are things, it's very exciting. The AI stuff we have going on is amazing. We're actually going to start using it within our own firm in several ways, myself specific. But these are things you can talk about to clients, saying like, this is why you want to be in things like, I don't know, maybe you would want to be in something like the Franklin Dynatech Fund. Maybe you want to be in something like ClearBridge Select or ClearBridge Large Cap Value or something like that, and talk about these amazing capabilities we have going forward. And that's with those chips that we have going on and the AI capabilities. I mean, we're going to have we're actually using Microsoft as an AI partner. Microsoft's a big user of NVIDIA chips. They're big into the AI space right now. And this is something that we're going to use. And this is kind of a precursor for what you will see because Primerica will adopt this. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. They told me that I'll be able to sit there and I'll be able to sit in front of Mr. Bracey's office there. And I'd sit there and say, all right, give me all of his business he's done. And this will pull from multiple sources too, not just from, because we use Microsoft Dynamics, which is our CRM system. We also have Outlook. We also have a different contact manager. It'll pull from various sources within that as well. Give me all contact information I have with Mr. Bracy. Tell me his last three trades. Tell me any important dates. I want to know his birthday, and I want to know, what his preferences are on this, whatever. And it'll pull it from the web, and it'll pull it from inside our sources, and all there. And it'll just sit there and read it to me, or just give it to me in a little page format and be able to do all that. And I'll be able to sit there after the meeting and say, please send him 3 fact cards of this, make a note that his birthday is actually not January this, it's February this, or whatever, right? Because we had something wrong in our dynamics. Make a note that I need to follow up with him in 3 weeks, and then also call my internal and tell him that he needs to call right away about XYZ. And that will all happen. And it's all through AI, and it's all pulled from various ways. This is going to happen, and you will have similar functionality in this. Now, I tell you all this because everybody's kind of like, this is fun and this is great and this is exciting, Brad. You spent 15 minutes talking about this stuff, but what does it mean to me? What does it mean to you? And what does it mean to the stock market? Let me just give you one example. There are 4 main business units at Microsoft, and I don't remember all of them. There's gaming, there's Outlook, there's uh, Office, and then there's one other one. Office, they have a 500 million users, right? Office is going to offer the exact same thing that I just told you. It's an AI capability for a fee. You pay a fee and you get this capability to be able to do whatever you want to do and pull stuff out and from various sources and whatnot. And they said that it's a modest fee. And they said if they did that and they had an adoption rate of something like 75% or whatever, they said that it would increase Microsoft's revenues by $180 billion. Microsoft right now, through all 4 business units, has a revenue of $180 billion. So you're talking one business unit using one section of one thing for AI is going to double the revenues, not including the other business units or anything else that can be used in there. That's the impact that AI is going to have, is productivity right now is what it's going to do. You can look at things like, and this is going into a little more of the economics space of things, which, can bore a lot of people. I do get tended to be called Professor Haynes because I do tend to go off into my economic rants on occasion. But let me just boil it down to you on this. You really, theoretically, you cannot grow your economy unless you grow your population. That's just the way it is. You really can't grow your economy unless you grow your population. Now, there's some people say, well, you can do certain things. Yeah, there's some things in the peripheral you can do, but by and large, you can't. And the example is Japan. Japan has had a decreasing population base for the last probably 30 years. They still continue to have a decreasing population base, and they're obviously their economy has not grown; it's shrunk. They're actually growing their economy this year because what they've been able to use is harnessed AI to actually improve the productivity of the economy. So it acts like adding extra workers to it, right? So if you have one worker, let's say you have 5 workers, and all of a sudden you have someone retire, then it's 4 workers, and then it's 3 workers, right? But adding AI adds like 1, 2, 3 workers productivity level. You actually increase your population because productivity increased. I mean, I don't think you understand how important this is. This is an amazing thing because we have a population issue in this country as well. I mean, that's why immigration is so important to this country because that's one way we grow our population here. Now, if we can sit there and just add AI to the mix, yes, it's going to kill a lot of jobs. It will. Now, the first ones are going to be customer service representatives. It'll kill 55 million jobs worldwide, but it'll create a need for 85 million jobs. So think about it. 55 million jobs destroyed, but 85 million jobs created. It's going to create that. So we're going to have growth in our economy going forward, even though people say you can't grow it, these companies are so expensive. Look, you just look at what's going on with NVIDIA, with Microsoft, and you look at Amazon and all these other companies, and Apple's bringing out their AI assistants as well. You look at all that, that's only going to continue. It's not going to stop. We are basically I would probably equate it to, now, I was on the internet in 1989 because actually I went to Georgia Tech, which is Georgia Institute of Technology, which was one of the institutions, colleges universities rather, that actually helped create the internet with the Department of Justice. Actually, DARPA, I think, is who created it. But so I used the internet. I actually went down to my friend's house in 1989 and went because they had an IBM computer, the big fancy ones, because they had a big fancy computer. My dad, we had a Commodore 64 and it wouldn't work, but they had an IBM computer with the modem. They put the phone on it and everything. For those of you who remember that, and I got on the internet, it was called cyber back then, to go on and log on and register for classes. And I did that all the way through. But if you want to look at where we are right now as for AI, we are basically at a point where 1996, 97, basically when I got started. For those of you who remember when commercials would just sit there and say, just be the Procter and Gamble. And at the very bottom, you'll see procterandgamble.com, but no one ever said anything. I would say www.procterandgamble.com, right? You had to include that www, right, back then. And you remember how to do that. So it'd be like just Primerica advertisement, and then at the bottom, www.primerica.com. I bet you back then it was probably PFS, Parent African Financial Services back then. But that's kind of where we are with this AI stuff right now. So if you think back to the internet and where we were and how far it came and how it changed business and changed the game and changed the stock market, that's where we are right now. Think about how the stock market and investing changed. Look at what Apple did. Apple with this thing right here, this thing, the iPhone, right? You all look at this, we all look at this, say, hey, it's a $3 trillion company or thereabouts, right? But they are actually somewhere in the neighborhood. They have actually added on an annual basis, by the way, somewhere in the names of $2 trillion to the GDP, just one company, because of all the, when you look at it, all the apps and the commerce that created. And then think about that. What else did they create? They actually created and gave a platform to Amazon. Amazon could never have done what it is right now unless it had Apple. Think about that. Apple is responsible for Amazon's creation. And if you think about AI right now and where we are with it and where we're going to go, this is just the beginning. And by way of that, I want to tell you, you need to look at things like Franklin Dynatech. Those of you who have not, you need to look at it. Franklin Dynatech really does go out there and look for these type of companies. We're looking for the future. So this fund has about 60 to 100 holdings in it, right? Most mutual funds have about 40 to 50, but this has 60 to 100. And what it does is it says, hey, I want to have 60 solid companies I know about. Apple, Amazon, Nvidia, those type of companies. I know these companies. These are the big ones. But I want to have about 30 to 40 that have a very small amount, like 1/4 1% of the entire fund, in a bunch of different companies that are kind of test runs. Let's see how they do. Is this an emerging technology? Is this something we want to continue to invest in? Does it continue to perform? If it performs, we add to it. We add to it. It's kind of like, let's not go all in. Let's sit there and test run it a little bit. And if it does well, let's add more to it. And then hopefully it grows up to be those bigger NVIDIAs and Apples and Microsofts and Amazons and Googles and pick your favorite, the Magnificent Seven that you want to have there. To that end, let me just show you here this brochure. Are y'all seeing this brochure? Okay, perfect. This is available. It's client approved. It's innovations in investing. And I don't want to, this is a very, so it's really rare you have a investment firm who writes the brochure. Usually our marketing department does it. The investment firm, Franklin, actually wrote this one. So it's a little wordy. So I'm going to go through and tell you what I would show clients is I would just start off right here and kind of do a study of history. Look back in the 70s. What was innovative in the 70s? Airlines, beauty care. I mean, that's Mary Kay, back in the day, right? That's photocopies, right? And then what in the 80s, it became drugs and home microchips, home video and microchips and Walkmans. I mean, how many people remember Walkmans? I do. I had one, right? But mine had orange, had things, those things kept ripping apart and everything. So you know how they just got ratty and everything. Okay. Those of you who know, those of you who don't worry about it. Then you go in the 90s, you had like CDs and DVDs. Remember those were big things? And those were like, kill the music industry or whatever, and all that kind of stuff. Fax machines, fluorescent lights. My goodness, that was an innovative thing back in the 90s. You go to 2000s, you see human genome, iPhones, solar, wireless, ATMs. I mean, ATMs, remember, I was actually a bank teller one of my jobs when I was in college is I worked for First Atlanta when I grew, was at Georgia Tech, and I was first I was a bake teller for 2 summers as the way to make some money. And those bake tell, I mean, do you see a bank teller anymore? I mean, you don't really see them. You don't see many bank branches. I can't tell you the number of bank branches I've seen around Dallas in the area that I live in that are closed because people don't need anymore because you have everything done through credit cards and you go to an ATM machine anywhere. You go to 3D printing in the 2010s and 4G, not 5G plus 4G, right? Social media started off then, and then you had robotic surgery. And then you go and look here in the 2020s, all of this stuff, blockchain, everything that goes on here, mRNA therapy, robotic surgery, remote robotic surgery, which is utilizing AI and robotics. That's all where we are now. And what I want to do is like that's the opportunity, right? So what we're doing is to set up the opportunity. Here's the opportunity. You look at all this stuff going on right now. How do you play it? Because there's a lot of companies here that are going to do well, and there's a lot that are going to fail, right? Is everybody with me on that? Right. So you need to have a fund manager who really knows how to go out there and pick the right ones and know when to dabble and then know when to go all in. And that's where we look right here. And this next page right here, this tells it all. This is where we are. Early development. This is stuff that's going on right now. You're hearing about cannabis and edge computing, maybe. Hydrogen's being talked about a little more. SPACs aren't really around anymore. It was really hyped up recently, and they're basically gone because of the interest rate environments, and they're just kind of out of here now. Autonomous vehicles, you see, this is peak of hype right there, which this little thing would go away. Peak of hype. And then you have the rationalization, 5G, blockchain, augmented reality, 3D, mRNA sequencing, electric vehicles. And then you have the establishment for the long term, this part over here, right? Where we want to buy is we want to buy in this rationalization space. This is not the stock price going up or down. This is just the rationalization and the hype of the actual technology. This is what we call, I would like to rename this right here, rationalization, in terms of monetization. The monetization of these things. Right now, blockchain is all the buzz. Agreed? Everybody knows blockchain. Well, besides AI, right? Augmented reality is right below, right? Is another aspect of AI. Well, blockchain, how do you make money on it? You may never make money on blockchain. Blockchain is a different thing. But if you can rationalize it and monetize it, we want to be in there before everybody else. Right now, it's hyped up, but we might be able to figure out ways of making money on it. But that's where we want to. We want to buy in the monetization so that we know that we get to the establishment for the long-term adoption and really money. Look at social media. Would you have liked to have bought Facebook back here when it was kind of getting the rationalization phase about 15 years ago? Yeah, we would have, right? Would you want to buy Amazon e-commerce back here in the rationalization phase? Yeah, well, guess what we did in this fund back in like 1999? When you want to buy these e-payments things, the Internet of Things back here, that's where we want to buy. You don't want to buy them when they're at the hype things because you never know if they're going to go anywhere. Hype SPACs are hyped. They're gone. Blockchain may be around. We may make some money from it. We don't know. You just don't know there. And then from here, that's just like, here's where we are. And then you can go through it. Now, there's a lot of stuff in here right now. You can look at this page. It's a lot of words. I like to point out this very last one, this information technology right here. The world generates 329 million terabytes of data. That's the equivalent of a 250-page book for every single person on Earth created every second of a day. That's the amount of data we're creating. That data is utilized in AI and utilized in various other ways. So as this data increases, so does the artificial intelligence, which you see right here is artificial intelligence. You go through there and then you can go like all through this, but then just sit here and say, hey, this is what we're talking about. We're right here. This is that right here. This is the Morningstar category at $57,000 right here. That's the category of U.S. large cap growth funds, right? You got look at the S&P 500. It's at 63,000. We're at 86,000. That's a hypothetical return of this fund. It's done very well with a very low volatility, great upside capture, great downside capture. And that's kind of what that fund is really all about. So with that being said, I want to stop and pause here to see what questions or comments you might have, or go into a different topic if you'd like to have me like to steer me in a different direction.
Brad, this is fascinating stuff because we hear about all of these things that are AI related. I know that Apple, they just had their conference and they rolled out their AI initiative and their platform and what they're going to be doing. A lot of people were interested in that, and I saw their stock price respond.
Yep.
Just for them talking about AI and what they're going to be doing in their open development and all that good stuff. I think that this is extreme for me personally. I'm speaking from this is extremely enlightening because I think that you have a unique way of kind of connecting these dots. Like, hey, Amazon couldn't even existed had there not been an Apple. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that I've ever really thought about it like that. The accessibility and how
Facebook as
this is
well.
going to be very much woven into the fabric of our future going forward. And it's good to look at opportunities to invest right now.
Yeah, I mean, even Facebook to an extent. Now, Facebook was, not laptop, but desktop initiated, right? It was started there, but it really didn't gain that much ground until it really went to the app, right? Because it was full widespread adoption. They had a nice environment on Apple where it could thrive in, and did obviously. So you look at that in the social media aspect of things. It's just all interconnected. And the main thing I want to make, I want to get this point across. I hope I have. A lot of people are going to sit there and say Nvidia's up. I think it's up 170% this year. It's up 400 some odd percent in the last 2 years. You have Microsoft where it is. Meta, Facebook, right? All of them, they're on an all-time high. Okay, these stocks have always been expensive to begin with. Number one, they've always been expensive. There's not been a day that's gone by that someone hasn't said Amazon's expensive. It has. It's always been expensive. What I need for you to understand and convey to your clients is that this is not over and this is just beginning. Remember the Microsoft idea. It's just adding AI to one aspect of one business unit would double the revenues in that company. Just Microsoft. What about these other companies out there? What about robotic engineering companies? I mean, what about things like in Japan and Japan becoming a growth market again? What about things with just on the energy side of things? When I start talking about how the usage of the power requirements for AI chips are really going to spur investment into and become utilities are going to become growth industry again, which they haven't done in like 50 years. That type of thing. There is a lot to be said for this. This is one of those things that you look at and you go, wow, it's dangerous. Yes, there's some danger to it, but it's exciting and it's going to create a lot of opportunities. And I'm telling you right now, when you start looking at technology and you look at these different companies, it is exciting, and you kind of want to jump in, right? I mean, I want to go and jump in and just get in and buy every stock I can possibly find. The best way to do that is to do it with a manager, a person who really understands this, who's actually headquartered in Silicon Valley, by the way, with the entire technology team. They have actual proximity to the mecca of innovation in the world, which is Silicon Valley. So buy the manager, buy that fund for that. Let them make the calls. Let them find the companies you haven't heard of yet, because you're not going to be able to do the research to find all these little companies. As maybe that one company out there that actually has figured out how to use blockchain to make money from it. Right? That will be the next Amazon or Meta or Facebook or not Facebook or Microsoft, right? If they figure that out, that type of thing. You go out there, but just get across the whole idea that this is not going away and you need to be invested in it. I don't care how old you are. That's the other thing. Everybody says, well, technology, that's a young person's game. You get in your 60s, you better not own that. It's too volatile. Yes, it's volatile. But it's not about owning it or not owning it. It's about what percentage do they have. If you're 60 years old, you're risk averse, maybe you only have 5%, right? Don't put in 10%, don't put in 15%, or put in 2%. Depends on the portfolio size. But everybody needs to be part of this, needs to participate in it, right? Because these companies are, and I've been saying this for a while. We go back to the 80s and the 90s. I mean, the companies that everybody wanted to own back then were General Electric and Procter and Gamble. I mean, those are the two everybody talked about. They're still great companies, but they're certainly not on the growth spectrum anymore. They had their kind of day back then. These companies are not going to go away, and they're going to be the drivers for the world's economy going forward, right? There are some things that are exciting. We bought Putnam. You will have access to Putnam through exchangeability, rights of accumulation, and exchangeability next summer. We got to do a lot of work in getting the transfer agent moved over. There's a lot of back office stuff that has to be done, and they're moving transfer agents, so we have to get on platform. There's a bunch of stuff, so we can't. You can do Putnam right now, but you can't exchange it. You can't get rights of accumulation. You cannot have letter of intents, and it's all paperwork. So if you want to do it, you can. But they have some really exciting products I can't wait to start talking about. I mean, I can talk to you about them now. They have a global technology fund that is unbelievable because it would be a nice add-on to Dynatech because they actually buy globally. So Samsung's a great company, but guess what? Dynatech doesn't own it, but they did. Those type of things. So different other aspects of technology that are out there that we have going on. And bringing the Putnam back aboard, by the way, Putnam was ranked by Barron's last year as the #1 mutual fund company last year, and we bought them. And you're going to have access to everything that they have. They have some really stellar funds out there that you're going to have access to. We'll revamp certain things as far as recommendations to help you out as to how to integrate all this. Because I mean, from my side of the desk, it seems relatively easy to an extent. I mean, even I get overwhelmed at some points in time. But from your side of the desk, it must be absolutely overwhelming. You have all these things going on with Clearbridge and Western and Franklin and Templeton and all this sort of stuff. We're gonna clear it up for you, and we will actually put a piece together that'll show you how to integrate everything together. To that end, what I want to show you is a piece that we have that you can access right now, and it's model portfolios, basically putting everything together with Franklin Templeton. I don't know if you've seen this before, but if you haven't, this piece is available. And if you look right here, this is something we did specifically for Primerica. This is not something we did for Ed Jones or LPL or anything like that. We did it specifically. How do you put these funds together? And we had our portfolio group come together and say, hey, these are the top selling funds at Franklin. These are the top selling funds at Lake Mason. How can we incorporate, how can they build portfolios utilizing these for small sums and large sums of money? So what we did is we said, all right, let's put them all together. So right here, you have an aggressive portfolio. See right here, aggressive portfolio. These match up with your investment profile questionnaire. So aggressive growth, moderate growth, conservative growth, and income. Compliant approved. You don't have to worry about anything. This is compliant approved. You have at the top right here, you have easy key, you got a 3-fund approach, a 4-fund approach, and a 5 or 6-fund approach. And it tells you what percentages to use in each fund. You see right here. So let's look at a 4-fund approach for an aggressive investor. Well, let's see. You got large cap growth at 30%. You got international at 15. You got 25 in rising dividends and 30 in equity income. But Brad, you just talked about Dynatech. Why isn't it in there? Well, these are what the portfolio group put together. If you like Dynatech, you know what? You sit there and say, Brad, you know what? I don't think we need equity income anymore, because if you look over on the next page, you sit there and say, hey, you know what? Equity and income is a large value. I don't want to own large value right now. I want to own large growth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this 30% from right here and just move it down to Dynatech. That's as hard as it is. Anything that's got a little dash, you can move any of these numbers around to anything that's got a dash. It's plug and play, right? Pick and choose, do whatever you want. It's like Legos. Yeah, you put there and do whatever you want. You go down to these conservative portfolios, you'll see you have the same percentages there. I would look at it this way. Easy key, y'all understand that. That's basically $50 a month, $100 a month, something like that. 3 funds, I would make sure to have at least $100 going into each fund, at least. 4 funds, I would be looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of about $40,000 or $1,000 for each fund, each position. And then 5 or 6, we can talk. Probably $50,000, $100,000 is probably what you want to do as a lump sum minimum. You really don't want to have less than $1,000 going into each fund position. So 15% of $10,000 is $1,500, right? So you got to make sure you have the percentages, the minimums met. But then you have this page right here. It just tells you, it's a cheat sheet. It tells you where's it play: infrastructure, foreign, large, mid blend, mid growth, large value, large growth. And it gives you a little description of each of the funds, so you kind of do a little homework. Remember, these are the funds that are already pre-selected for you. These are the ones that are approved by our portfolio group. You can't mess this up by sitting there saying, I want to have this fund because I like the description of this one more than I like that one. You can't mess it up. That's the whole idea behind it. This is how you can put it together and not worry about doing anything wrong for your clients and making sure that they're everywhere they need to be. So that is available right now. As a matter of fact, let me just in case you want to call, it's called Model Portfolios. Right? It's model portfolios, PFS investment approved funds, or you can sit there at the very last page, right here at the bottom right. You'll see right here, let me make that bigger for you. All you have to do is tell them that number. FS, PFS, FLMAT. And that's all you have to say. FSPFS FLMAT. So with that being said, those are my comments that I have here today. And I want to see if there's any questions out there. If anybody has an economics question or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely we do. We're going to go to Jackie Mayfield first, then we'll go to Quee.
Perfect.
Auntie, talk to him. Let us know what your question is.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Bradley, for all that you shared. As you were talking about AI, and it's so infused in our day-to-day, it's so infused in everything that we do. So what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I was just curious, as a registered representative, just from your perspective and you being in the industry, how do you think that AI will impact the investment industry by way of the registered reps and the investment advisors? Just curious your perspective on how that may change. And then my second question, I'll go ahead and throw them all out at the same time. The model portfolio document that you just shared, how often is that modified?
So I'm going to answer your second question first.
Okay.
And it's modified once a year. But we will modify it again when the Putnam integration goes in summer. So we'll probably modify it at the end of this year. When the modifications happen, they're not substantial. It's like one fund removed, one added, and a couple of percentages changed, right? So it's not like going to be like a major shift where you have to worry about it. The Putnam, we'll see. That's going to be a little different because Putnam has some really very, very good funds. I mean, they have a large cap value fund that people in the industry term it as a category killer, which means it kills every single other fund in the category. And if you look at things like American funds, which are they're the value house, it kills American funds, which is unbelievable that we have that. So there will be some changes there. That'll be a little bit more, I would imagine, be more prevalent. I just can't speak to that. As far as AI and the impact that it's going to have on our industry, first and foremost, nothing is really going to ever replace you, right? Everybody thought that robo-advisors, remember back, I don't know, 5, 6, it was right before the pandemic, robo-advisors were going to change the industry and everybody's going to go to these robo-advisors and the advisor is going to go away. And it didn't happen. And we don't see it happening going forward with AI. Where I do see it impacting our industry in a positive way is, think about it this way. I have, on occasion, have gotten a call or a phone call about back office issues, and that people call up and get several answers to the same questions, from different individuals. Imagine a world in which there are no back office people, and when you call up, you talk to an AI individual who has the right answer every time you call up, because it's all a closed environment with the same information that they already know because they have it there, and you have a conversation with them. That's how it's going to impact customer service representatives. Unfortunately, going to be the first fatalities of AI. And you know what? That's okay. There are other jobs for them, right? They will find other work. And it will actually create need for more jobs. So that aspect of it will do it. But as far as I think peripheral, you're going to benefit from AI because you're already benefiting from it and you don't even know it. Like, we utilize AI inside of our investment models. Now, we don't use AI as a standalone feature within investing. We use it within our models. We utilize it for research purposes and other things that have to do with portfolio management. So you're already benefiting from it. But we are of the belief, and we've always been a broker sold advisor firm since 1948, right? You had to get Franklin Templeton, you go through an investment advisor. And we've always believed that, and we will continue to do that. So we don't think that AI is going to take over, or your job's going to go away, or people are going to start going to AI. I mean, there may be some aspects of AI that'll be out there where it'll be really kind of a novelty, I think, for a while, but people really are going to sit there because the capabilities can be limiting to an extent. They certainly aren't going to sit there and ask you about how your kids are doing or worry about things. I mean, they don't have emotions. They can't sit there and read an individual across the kitchen table and what they're thinking and feeling. They can't ask the discovery questions that you can ask, right? So I don't think it's ever going to really take over. I mean, at least not within my lifetime. So I'm not concerned about it. I think what it's going to be additive. I think it's going to help you be a better investment advisor.
Thank you for your response. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, Quee, talk to us, man. Great question, Auntie.
Hey, Brad, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Man, Oh man, I'm doing outstanding. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening. I heard that earlier you were talking about pairing Dynatech. I use Dynatech quite often in different portfolios I have as a mix, but I was really curious about putting them. And say for example, if I start getting a couple of clients and they just say their contributions is $100 to $200, how would you percentage wise do Dynatech with a pump account, the one you were talking about earlier, the fund?
So with Dynatech,
Yes, sir.
so $100 or $200, depending upon the age of the client. If the client is, in their 20s or 30s, they got 100 or $200 a month, I wouldn't have a problem going all in Dynatech. Here's the one thing people need to understand about Dynatech. People look at Dynatech and say it's a technology fund. Yeah, it's 55% in information technology. It's an innovation fund, right? It's about innovation. If you look at the brochure, the front of it's about investing in innovation. If they see innovation elsewhere, think about this. If they see innovation in something else like, I don't know, utilities, think about that. We're going to have to grow that business. If there's some sort of innovating factor in utilities, Dynatech's going to go there. So they're going to look for innovation. If you talk to Matt Moberg or anybody on the Dynatech team, ask them what kind of manager you are, they'll say we're a large cap growth manager. They just happen to invest based on innovation in the large cap growth space.
Yeah,
So go ahead.
that's really good. So you talked about one because I know that Dynatech is a large growth. But also you talk about putting them. There's another one you said some kind of killer or something like that. So
Oh,
say for example,
that's a Putnam fund. You don't have access to it yet, so don't worry about that. So
all right, okay.
I know you
Um,
get excited all about that, and I would be
no,
too.
no,
And I'm excited about it because I can't wait to talk about it.
right. But there are some. If I say for example, I go on as I have a client, there are some that I possibly can use to pair with Dynatech.
Sure. I mean, you can pair Dynatech with anything. I think pairing Dynatech with something like dividend strategy, ClearBridge dividend strategy, I think is a great pairing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because basically you're looking at two aspects: large growth and basically large value. If you're a Franklin person or a legacy Franklin person, rising dividends is basically the same thing. It's not exactly, but it's close enough. So you have a rising div or dividend strategy are the two right there. You can use. You can actually utilize a little bit, maybe even appreciation, ClearBridge appreciation with Dynatech because you have some overlap there, especially with things like Apple. The Magnificent Seven is hard not to overlap because a lot of the funds all own those
Overlap.
sevens. Yeah,
Would would
although
you would you suggest a Franklin Growth Fund with Dynatech is like aggressive growth? Would you consider those two?
so Franklin Growth is very much akin to a ClearBridge appreciation. They're very much
Okay.
what we call a blend. So they're that blend box. So you got a growth, blend, value. So you'd have ClearBridge dividend strategy or Franklin rising div, and in the middle you'd have ClearBridge appreciation or Franklin Growth, and right here you'd have Dynatech in the large growth space.
And the three funds, right?
You think those three funds? Boom, boom, boom.
Okay, perfect. But that's all I had, man. But I got excited about the pudding, so you
Yeah,
got me
well,
excited.
I don't know. I want to get a swell support and excitement out there, and because it is exciting stuff. They have some very cool products. They have a very interesting way of looking at things.
Mhm.
They actually have just as a big little teaser here. They have I think it's 3, 6, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I think it's like 18. No, it's not 18. It's like 12 or 15 boxes, right?
Okay.
All these different things that they look for in investments. And one of them, which I found was really interesting, is a style box for investing. And this goes whether you're a large manager, growth manager, value, whatever, they're just thematics. They're thematics is what they are. They're thematics, right?
Okay.
So innovation would be a thematic. One of them is that Putnam picked this up. This is not anything that Franklin does right now, and you don't have access to anything like this, but it's called the humanization of pets. The
Okay.
humanization of pets. Anybody in here have a dog or a cat? Raise your hand if you're thinking. Yes. Okay. Dog or cat. If your dog or cat is doing something really weird, do you sit there and start asking it questions to try to sit there and figure out what it has, or do you take it to the vet? Take it to the vet, right? Well, that's created a need for things like what? Pet insurance. And that stuff's out there. It is a big industry right now. You take your pet to the vet because your pet can't tell you what's wrong with it. I mean, it can't say I've got a sore throat, and it's probably because I was, sleeping with my mouth breathing last night in front of the air conditioning unit. It's not. It can't tell you what it may or may not be feeling. It's just going to have reactions. So it's the humanization of pets with everything from wills and everything that go on out there. So they actually have a thematic where they actually invest in companies like that because it's becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger industry. It's kind of a cool way. That's a very different aspect. And that tells you the strength that Franklin brings. That's Putnam, and that's how they made it. There is no other firm, Clearbridge, Franklin, Templeton, Mutual Shares, K2, any of these other firms we own, nobody has thematics like that. We bring it together because it's called diversification and independent diversity of thought. And you want to have that in your portfolios, right? That's the beautiful thing about what we have is that you can go to one company, get all the breakpoints and all that kind of stuff, and invest in 9 different investment firms that all are very different. So that was my little, Franklin Templeton ad there for you.
That's powerful. That's powerful. Benicia, I saw your reaction on the pet insurance stuff. I know the history there. Next up, we got a question from Sean McLeod. Sean, talk to us.
Okay, excellent presentation, Bradley. So enjoyed this. And my question is actually on the model portfolio. I heard something that I did not hear before, and I wanted to ask a clarifying question regarding it. You said something about the dashes for those funds being, I'll say, substitutable for the other funds that are listed there.
Correct.
So what do you mean by that? Do you mean you literally could use any one of those funds if it was, say, for example, an Easy Key single fund? You could use any one of those funds as long as they're in that one category?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. The whole idea is that those funds are approved in that category. So you can sit there and say, I want to use this instead of this, and that type of thing. The only thing I'm going to say that I'm going to preface my comments to this by saying this. When you get down to the moderate growth, conservative growth, and income, we get down to those categories. Primerica is not concerned about which equities you own or what type of bonds you own. They're just concerned that you have the stock to bond ratio kind of within a margin of error, right? They want to make sure that, if you're putting someone into a, aggressive growth, moderate growth, conservative growth, that you're not sitting there doing like 70% in equities and 30% in bonds. So I'm going to preface this by saying, when you look at that brochure, let me just pull it up here and just give you an example of what I'm talking about. What did I just do? Oh, here it is. I'll give you, so when you look, and we can help you out, you can always call us and we can help you out with this, but you look at things like, moderate growth is supposed to be, you sit here and look, all right, now I know this because I know these funds, right? But if you look at something, Western Core Plus is 34% right here. Rising Dividends is an equity fund. That's an equity fund. That's an equity fund. That's an equity fund. That's an equity allocation fund. But it says, all right, so 30. So you want to have about 30% in bonds. So you kind of want to keep the bond positioning where it is, but you can change up the equity positions. That makes sense?
Okay. I
Keep
got
the
it.
bond positionings kind of like the Strategic Income, Western Core. These bottom 3 are bond funds. You kind of want to keep those where they are, but change up the equities and do what you want.
Okay, got it. Versions that come out related to this, Jackie referred to kind of how often this is updated and changes. Until you pulled it up, the version that I actually have is from January 23, and I think your version is September 23. Is there a notification that comes out when this is updated, or do we just kind of poll every so often during the year?
It's not, that's a really good point. We should probably make a note on that. Let me see if we can't do something as far as notification on that. We don't notify on it. Let me see if there's something we can do. I mean, what I'd like to do is if someone ordered it, I'd like to do a direct mailing. If we change it, just do a direct mailing all at once and have it sent out. But let me ask about that. See if I can't get something done on that.
Okay, just curious about it. And then my last question was around how we prepare from a professional education standpoint as investment advisors, future investment advisors. How do we prepare for the advent of AI and its proliferation in our industry? What do we do educationally from a professional standpoint?
I think right now, because we're just at the beginning of this, I don't think there's a whole lot aside from listening to, like, we have webinars on a, every other month basis, national webinars, and we've had Matt Boberg on there before. As a matter of fact, if anybody going to the convention, just as a little sidebar here, Wednesday of the convention from 2:30 to 4, and Thursday from 9 to 11:30, one of those two times, make sure you're at the Franklin Templeton booth, because Matt Moberg, who manages Dynatech, will be there. Ed Perks, who manages Franklin Income, will be there. We'll have representatives from Western Asset, and also ClearBridge will be there as well. So come by, get your picture taken, because you can sit there and say, you can point to the guy, Matt Moberg, and say, this is the guy who manages Dynatech. So that's my little blatant advertisement there for you. I think what you need to do right now is listen to the calls, and then we bring out white papers. We have white papers, and if you look at our website, it's just insights, and you can go in there, and it'll actually have little things on AI in there. Not a whole lot as far as from your side of the desk, like impact that it's going to have on that. It's really more of a grander scale, like, how it's being utilized right now. It's just now started. I mean, this is something that's just starting. I mean, we are just now getting this put in. I was reading an article the other day about asset management firms, and most people aren't even doing anything with it right now, because it is so new. It'd be akin to asking us, asking me, how is the internet going to impact your business? And like asking me that question in like 1997. There's no way to have known back in 1997. So we don't really know right now. But I think as far as educational stuff is, just listen to credible sources, I would say, number one, and then look at websites and things that we have on our website. It's under insights. You go down there. There may be even a little tagline for AI in there. Look at that. Anything Dynatech related. You can go to Putnam directly. You can go to Franklin Templeton directly. Their websites. Just go, because we all have our own websites. ClearBridge is another one you look at. Specifically, Select, the ClearBridge Select Fund strategy is one you would want to look at. And Putnam as well. But look at things like that, and then the overall, Franklin Templeton website, and just you can just pick out different things and read. But I think right now it's kind of hard to. We're all trying to wrap our heads around what this really is going to mean down the road, right? But the reality of what it can do, I think everybody pretty much knows. It is basically, the average human has like an IQ of something like, I don't know, something like what, 100, 110, something like that. The equivalent of an AI supercomputer is the equivalent of an IQ, someone told me, is like 30,000. It's like they just know, basically it is, they are all knowing. They know everything because it's an open platform, right? So it knows everything that's out there. Now, that's where the danger comes in, right? Because you have to kind of constrain it. That's why people are starting to put security things on it, because it is a little dangerous and it's a little freaky sometimes. Just to give you a little, not to freak anybody out, but this is kind of tells you why you have to be careful with this type of technology. And it is out there that this is why we have to some regulation with it. Is I think it was either Meta or Microsoft had two separate computers that were both AIs. So they were separate individual AIs, and they were talking to each other, and they gave it a topic to talk about. And it started talking, and then it really didn't want to have humans interact with it anymore. So they created their own language. So we couldn't understand what they were saying. So they immediately cut them off and killed them, basically shut them down, because they were created their own language. So we couldn't monitor what they were saying. That's kind of the danger of this stuff. I mean, it can get really out there. It's really dangerous right now, as far as politics. It was interesting, our sales meeting, we had several of our up on the screen up there. I mean, it was very much like a Primerica meeting. It was really cool with these big screens. So we had 450 people in the room. So it was like one of the Primerica trips, right? And we had people up there saying, I'm so excited. And our CEO was up there on screen, but it wasn't her. It was an AI generated Jenny Johnson up there on screen saying stuff in her voice. And none of us really knew, except at the bottom, if you read it, it said Jenny Johnson AI, not Jenny Johnson CEO. So it's, there's some dangers to it, but it's a very exciting piece of technology. And everybody thought the internet was going to have, there was a lot of dangers to the internet. Think about everything that went on with that. I mean, that's very much, type similar situation. So, we'll get through it all. But very exciting, and just read and educate yourself a little bit more on it. But the main thing you want to talk to the clients about, and this is really where you're going to be able to get them to grab a hold of it and say, okay, I get it. I want to, is talk about like the Microsoft example, right? This is where you're really going to see the rubber meet the road. When companies start identifying different business units and implementing that in there, it's always going to be for a fee. They're just going to sit there and they can do it, and they can increase productivity without having to use people. Right? Increasing productivity without using people. So there's like no overhead or very little overhead. The people who design and create and monitor and keep it going. But that's, it's fixed costs. But you sit there and look at it. This basically, it's small considered what it takes to build out like a Microsoft Outlook, right? Or a Zoom or something like that. This is done just as an add-on, as a bolt-on. That's the exciting part about it from the investment side of things. That's the type of thing you need to be talking to people about. I understand the education side of things, Sean. I know you want to do that, but just when it comes to that, talk about the investing side of it and where it means to them long run.
Excellent. Thank you, Bradley.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Auntie, did you have another question?
I actually just had a comment when he was talking about the two computers talking to each other. I just thought about Eagle Eye and iRobot.
Yeah.
I was like, all those movies that we watch, this is real stuff.
Yeah, I never saw iRobot. I probably should go and see it. Is that Will Smith's in that, right?
Will Smith, yep.
Okay, yeah, you know what I have seen? I have seen it. It's just been a long, long time ago. I always think, when I think about this, I always think like war games. And I also think like, this is going to really date myself, is Space Odyssey 2001. If anybody remembers the movie.
I wasn't born. I don't know about that one.
Stanley Kubrick, but it was 1970 something movie. Stanley Kubrick, so it's weird.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
But it's the HAL, the computer. What are you doing? Yeah, so there's that. I always think of things like that. You can kind of go off the rails with some of it, but it's kind of a cool thing. I mean, like I said, it's something to be excited about, and it's something that you want to be talking about. And this is what it means to you. I think that's a bigger thing. It's not just as exciting and it's fun and it's cool, because it is, right? I mean, I have a chat box on my thing that I can sit here and say, give me, an agenda, 4 topics, utilizing this, and it'll type. I've done it before. They actually types out an agenda for me in like 30 seconds, not even that long. But it's like, what does it mean to you? How do you invest in it? Well, it's NVIDIA, it's Microsoft, it's these. How do you do that? You do it through things like Dynatech, who actually have the long tail, who actually are investing in all these other smaller firms, robotic AI firms, and things that we don't really know about, no one's talking about yet, but they're there. That's the excitement. That's where you want to kind of steer the conversation.
Sean, do you have a question or a comment? Hold on, you're on mute.
Or your sound went out.
All right. One question that I forgot, thanks, Nick, is how can we, at least right in this juncture, most effectively utilize our Franklin Templeton resources in terms of our day-to-day working with customers, and or even working with them to present to customers, or even helping us to pull certain types of customers in? How can we more effectively utilize our connection to our Franklin Templeton representative?
Great question. Okay, so there's a couple of things. I have an internal wholesaler. His name's Rob Brierly. He's worked for Franklin for 24 years. He's worked for Franklin as an intern for 24 years because he never wanted to be an external, which is great. So he knows the Franklin side of things very, very well. He's headquartered in Tampa, Florida, which is where a lot of our internals are. I come from the Lake Mesa side, so I know that side very well. Utilize him, talk to him, call him. He can do training for you. So we have two systems on our computer, 2 pieces of technology you have access to. If you register on the Franklin Templeton website, don't go through POL, go outside, just franklintempleton.com, register for our website. We have a hypothetical illustrator on there that you can utilize, that he can train you on if you want to. POL, there's also a hypothetical illustrator on there. He utilizes the Franklin one, obviously, because it's Franklin. The other thing is, I know a lot of people sometimes run into situations where you have clients who have these stocks and these bonds or ETFs or whatever. They have this portfolio, right? I don't know what to do with this, right? This client's got whether it be one mutual fund, one ETF, one stock, or a slew of them. You can register for it, or he can actually do it. It's a portfolio. It's called a portfolio analytics tool. It's called PAT. And what it will do is it'll go there and give you all the information. It's very easy to use, and it's really easy interface to be able to sit there and say, this is where they are, this is where you want to put them, and differ and kind of see where you stand versus where the client is right now. He can walk you through that. I would register for the conference calls. Make sure that you're getting email delivery of all emails. Call up Rob tomorrow and say, can you make sure you opt me in? Because when we changed over from Leg to Franklin, we had to opt everybody out. No emails, no conference call reminders, no nothing. So go in and opt back in. Say, can you opt me back in for everything? We have things like anatomy of a recessionist put out by ClearBridge. You can get a thing on that. We have many, many webinars. I mean, you can spend, trust me, you can spend a lot of time going through all that stuff. You need to kind of pick and choose what you want to go through. But I think Rob Riley is your first point of contact to kind of help you out and navigate through that and do some training. You sit there and say, Rob, can I borrow you for a half an hour to train me on X, Y, Z? Show me how to navigate the website. Show me where stuff is. He'll do that.
Great question, Sean. That was awesome. I didn't even know
about. Oh, let me
that.
give you Rob's. How about Rob's number? That would be a good thing to give you.
Yes.
How about that? Okay. His number is 203 703 6015. 203 703 6015. Rob Brierly.
And Brad, if you don't mind, if you can drop in the chat, you know, if you can, that number, but also the time, the people in the times that you mentioned that certain people are going to be at the Franklin Templeton booth at the convention, the days, the person, the day, and the time that they're going to be at the booth. That, thank you, because that's a big deal. That Wednesday and that Thursday, so that way. Because a lot of us are going to be getting to Atlanta on that Wednesday. So after we get checked in, or we're getting ourselves together in preparation for the convention, we got to go over there to the World Congress Center to pick up credentials, stuff like that. That could be a stop that we make, you know, to be able to do that. So if you can type that into the chat, that'd be awesome and amazing as well. So that way people can have that. Also. Guys, this has been a phenomenal, amazing. Brad is a wealth of knowledge. I'm so glad that he is an extension of our team. And so this is going to be the first of several conversations that we have. I'll make sure of it. It's a long time coming. Brad knows. Rahima and I and him, we've been talking about getting him on the training for over a year now. It's been a while.
We had some hiccups in there. He's like, my fault. The last one's my fault because I stupidly forgot so I have two phones. I have my phone and a work phone, and I can't get on my computer without my work phone. And I brought my computer. I don't know where I was in wherever. And I forgot my work phone, so I couldn't log into my computer, so I couldn't do any Zoom meetings. I felt bad about that. That was my bad. First time I've ever done that, by the way.
No doubt. Hey, listen, it's okay. It's all good, because this is going to be the start of many, because I would love for you to come back and just even go down a different rabbit hole and talk about, not tonight, of course, but income strategies. You know what I'm saying? Income strategies. And what I mean by that, teammates, is that I know that we have annuities and things like that, but man, there's some mutual funds out there that actually pay income. And so it's an opportunity that we can, utilize that strategy to be able to generate income for our clients. That was really my question, but I know that's a whole nother rabbit hole, Brad. We can bring you back to talk about that as we help clients in a certain position strategize for different things to create and generate income for themselves.
Call Rob tomorrow. If you're on the line, you want income stories, call Rob. Ask him about Franklin Access floating rate. It's yielding about 8.1% right now.
Oh, say that again. Say that one more time. I think that we all missed it. Say that one more time.
It's Franklin floating rate. It's a fund, right? It's yielding about 8.1% right now. That's a very good fund to own right now. It's just banknotes, so it's pretty good. That fund, just as FYI, starting July 1st, its NAV at $250,000. So no sales charge at $250,000 starting July 1st. Right now it's $500,000, no sales charge.
Wow.
And if you have money sitting on the sidelines, like people sitting in cash, whatever, talk to Rob about ARMZX. Ask him about the symbol ARMZX.
Awesome.
Just put it in the chat. I don't want to waste any more time, but those two things that we could talk about. Well, I'll definitely do an income next time. That's perfect.
Absolutely, man. Teammates, please do me a favor. Unmute yourself. And let's give it up one more time for Brad Haynes, our friend and our teammate. Thanks a lot, Brad.
Thank you so much, Brad. We appreciate it.
Very informative. We appreciate you.
Thank
Thank you. I hope everybody got something out of it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
All right. Well, we'll see you at the convention, right?
Yes, sir.
All righty. Have a good night.
All right, you too. Take care.
Bye-bye.